super hot, super hot, super hot, super hot, super hot, super hot.
SuperHot is an exercise in minimalism and simplicity. It takes a simple but extremely inventive concept and gradually builds on it to create an extremely satisfying and intriguing experience. It's innovative, it's thoughtful, it's well designed, and it's all around a blast to play. It's definitely one of the most innovative shooters I've played in years. It definitely helps that the concept at SuperHot's core gameplay is very engaging. SuperHot is a first-person shooter with a twist. Time only moves when you're moving. You'll be placed into a room with a bunch of guys trying to kill you, and using your magical time powers, you'll have to thoughtfully navigate the scenario you find yourself in and defeat all your enemies. You'll dodge bullets, disarm bad guys, and carefully line up shots of your own. This focus on environmental awareness, situational analysis, and problem solving makes SuperHot much more of a tactical problem-solving game than a traditional shooter. You'll be put into situations where there's a bullet flying at your left, but there's a guy about to stab you with a sword, so you quickly disarm the sword guy, and then cut the bullet flying in midair and chuck the sword at a guy aiming his next shot at you from across the room, and man, it just feels like the coolest thing in the world, and you can't believe it all worked out, and then you get punched in the back of the head by a guy you didn't notice was right behind you the whole time. The unique nature of the gameplay just clicks the second you start playing it, and the game sets up a number of mind-bending scenarios to make your way through. The story mode contains 26 levels that take about 2 hours to complete. It's a very meta experience story-wise, and while it isn't anything especially narratively unique, it's presented in a way that's quite entertaining. If you like fourth wall breaking in video game narratives, you'll probably be intrigued by the plot of SuperHot. The levels offer a lot of variety, and the game has a very satisfying difficulty curve. And maybe you thought the game would be super easy because you control the passage of time so you can just cakewalk your way through it. No, that's not true. It's not true at all. SuperHot puts the player in some very difficult situations. For example, you're on a small elevator with 3 guys all pointing guns at you. Take them all out. Also, while avoiding all their bullets in this tiny claustrophobic space. So, good luck. The difficulty of the game is also slightly heightened by the fact that the game features no level checkpoints, so when you die, you start the entire level over. However, levels are short enough that this is never really frustrating or unfair, at least it didn't seem so to me. The increasingly intense levels make it essential that you're always checking your surroundings and listening for audio clues so you know exactly what's going on even outside of your viewpoint. I always like it when a game makes you engage your spatial awareness, and the gameplay of SuperHot is pretty much built around this idea. The visual aesthetic of the game complements both the gameplay and the narrative. From a gameplay perspective, the empty white levels emphasize the striking red polygonal enemies and bullet lines, but more than that, the blank slate enemies make the brutal action of the game seem less intense. It separates the player from his or her actions. It's a very effective design choice that unifies the theme of the narrative and the art aesthetic of the game. Halfway through the game, you unlock the special ability to hot swap to a different enemy, which means basically you switch places with where an enemy was. It's a cool concept and a welcome new idea that wasn't originally in the demo, but it's kind of odd that this is the one instance of progression in a game where unlocking skills isn't really a factor. Maybe if there were more than one new skill you learned throughout the game, it would fit better. I don't know, it's not a terrible addition or anything, it's just like, in a game where everything gels together so well, it's one of the few weird things that just sticks out. It's not bad, just kinda weird. Anyway, once you finish the story mode, a bunch of extra content is unlocked. There are challenge modes which let you go through the story in a variety of different ways, from simple modes like katanas only or guns only have 1 bullet, to more complicated rule sets like Ghost Mode, where you can hot swap from the very beginning of the game and you have lethal punches, but you can't use any weapons. The challenge modes add a lot to the game, and I think that I had more fun playing some of the challenges than the actual story. There's also an endless mode where you fight wave after wave of enemies endlessly. It's just a basic survival mode, but it's fun and you unlock more arenas and time variants of the modes the more you play. The endless mode lacks any sort of plot, but the engaging gameplay of SuperHot made me come back to it over and over again. So it's time to bring out our patent-pending, handy-dandy, super original Should You Play It-ometer. So, should you play SuperHot? The answer is yes. Its inventive and unique gameplay, thoughtful level designs, minimalist art aesthetic, and mind-bending problem-solving all blend together to make one cohesive and awesome game. The only big downsides of the game are the minimal narrative and the short story mode. If you want to play a game that's narratively driven, That is not SuperHot. SuperHot is very much a gameplay-oriented game. And the story mode is quite short at only 2 hours long, but I think the added content greatly makes up for it. If you're worried about the price for a 2-hour game, I definitely recommend waiting a bit until the price drops to play it. Either way though, it's definitely a game that I highly recommend playing at some point in time, whether you play it now or wait for the price to drop. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. This has been PaperTony, and I'll see you next time.